Okay, so folks, today we are talking to the very beautiful and talented Tessa Koller is here today. One of the things I want to speak to you about is you attended my ed, correct?
I
Okay.
did. Yeah.
So we always talk a lot about education and how education somehow formulates us into better artists, better people, smarter people, etc. And then there's some of the mindset of, I know how to do art, my own form of art. I'm going to go off and do it without any education. So I want
Mm.
to ask you to start with, tell me a bit about the election to choose my ed to go to, and why did you feel that education was going to be part of your background? Why do you think you needed that?
For many reasons, I feel that education, obviously, it's very important. I wanted that background. I wanted to earn at least a BFA,
Yeah,
and have that, in my credentials. I think, I've always wanted to get into teaching, and I knew I wanted to do that down the road. And
sure.
it's very important to have a degree, especially if you want to be an author or you want to be publishing content for publications or magazines or whatever. I knew I would be getting into these things in college, so I wanted to be continuously building my platform in art and freelance journalism and all these, other creative avenues, I guess you could say. But I feel that a degree is very valuable. It is an asset. It doesn't really matter what field you're going into. I just feel that it's just important to have that, tied to your title.
Got it. Oh, that makes perfect sense, actually. And in terms of my ed, because I attended UW Milwaukee, so I'm in a different area, would you recommend my ed, and in particular for particular types of specialty areas, would you say, or what are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, actually, my ed taught me so much. I got my major in drawing and minor in creative writing, and it really opened my mind and creative skills and abilities in ways that I feel I probably could have done on my own, but it's just
Sure.
good to get guidance and knowledge from professors that have been doing art for a lot of years. And it really just opened my mind to, and I guess imagination to all kinds of things that I just did not expect. And that's the great thing about school is, growing up when I was doing art, I was very, kind of tight and kind of, hyper realistic, which I'm very attracted to, but I'm also attracted to abstraction, and so
Yeah.
going to art school helped me branch off into different, like I said, creative avenues and types of mediums and the ways to use them. And that's what's really good about art school. They really help you um, say, yeah, I see you doing it this way with this type of medium, but how about trying this way and that way? And you just discover more things creatively
Yeah.
with that approach. And that's what really helped me in school. And I think it's important for every artist to have that kind of hands-on learning, with an artist who has been at it for a lot of years. And it's really just inspiring. It just
Sure.
made me realize, like, this is what I want to do, until I die. I mean, this is who I want to be. And, I've been doing art since I was very young. I'm self-taught, but I just needed more. Art school helped me just break out of old habits and ways of working that weren't really working, if you get what I'm saying.
I do.
And that was the great thing about art school. I hope that answers the question, but it
Sure
really
does.
just expanded my, creative horizons in ways I
Yeah.
just could not expect. So,
Okay,
yeah.
I gotcha. Thank you very much for that. Now, one of the things that you mentioned earlier is that you have homes in different places in terms of states and you travel a lot, which I do myself. So, one of the things we like to talk about is for those of us who are traveling all the time, it's balance. We talk a lot about maintaining balance, meaning at what point is work kind of overcoming home life and vice versa. And so, for you personally, can you tell me a bit about how do you define when one starts and one ends so that you keep your sanity, basically?
Yeah, so, for all throughout my 20s and 30s, I did a lot of international traveling.
Okay.
And as much as I loved it, it did get to be a lot. And now that I'm, 41, I'm going to be 42 soon. My health situations have changed and gotten quite a bit more complex. So I haven't been able to travel as much as I did in my 20s and 30s, but I still like to travel to different places around the country and speak at different conferences. And I try to be a source of influence for people that really struggle with various types of health conditions like I do myself. And that also introduces you to all kinds of interesting people and interesting forms of art and interesting ways of doing art. And that's why I love traveling though. Even if it's just in the country, you just learn so many different things and you get inspired in so many different ways. And but in terms of work-life balance, I try not to schedule more than 3 things a year now.
Okay.
And I have to be, very mindful about how I navigate my health and my lifestyle
Yeah.
where I am now, unfortunately. But there was a while there. I mean, between 2009 and I think 20, just before the pandemic, 2019,
Yeah.
I was traveling to different countries and speaking for the International 22Q Family Foundation and the International 22Q Foundation and meeting people all over the world with my health condition. And essentially, I have a genetic disorder that is like the small version of it is it's a deletion of the 22nd chromosome, which affects pretty much the whole body.
Okay.
And and so that's pretty much why I did so much traveling and still travel and I attend these conferences and I deliver keynote address speeches like I'll be doing
Okay.
in September. And it's just really it brings joy and meaning to my life and it just makes everything just amazing, even if things aren't so amazing. It really adds an extraordinary flair to life, I guess you could say.
Oh, you betcha. In fact, I was just talking to everybody recently. In fact, I had a stretch where I had stomach issues and I had a terrible virus going around, and people don't really realize how much it takes out of you. You know what I mean? When you have health issues and you're trying to balance doing your profession, it's super hard to try to maintain both. So, what I want to ask you first off, when it comes to your health journey and the struggles you've had, tell me a bit about what do you think is one misconception people have? Because I think oftentimes they mistake it and they don't really realize the impact that a serious illness can have on someone on an ongoing basis. They kind of expect short term, but what do you think is the misconception there when it comes around? Maybe we all think that, yeah, we should just be able to get up and work tomorrow, right? Like, what do you think it is that you think people should know about someone who is struggling with health issues when it comes to work?
I think it's important that people just that everyone is patient with everyone. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but I've had people say to me, "Oh, you just look so normal and you look so healthy." And I know I'm not feeling well, I'm dealing with
Sure.
stuff. Anytime someone brings the word normal into the conversation, I'm just like don't do that,
Yeah.
it's not really a nice, well, first of all, it's not a nice thing to say, and I always have to tell people like it's not about being normal or abnormal. Yes, I have a lot of health conditions. I don't view it in that way. I'm
Sure.
able to do my artwork and stuff, but yeah, like my health interferes a lot in my life. It has, especially in the last year and a half as my health situation has gotten more complex. But I feel that people just need to know that if someone isn't well, it's just important to be patient with them, to be understanding with them, and to just kind of be like, this person isn't doing well, but let's not be judgmental about it. It's just
Absolutely.
that word normal that kind of, I can't tell you enough how often I hear that from all kinds of people, and it's just not the greatest, word to bring into a conversation when someone is dealing with a health condition. I mean, there are so many other things that you can say to make a person feel uplifted or like not burdened. There's many different things that people can say or just not say anything at all. So that's kind of how
Hmm.
I that.
You bet. The other thing I want to ask you about that is with the health challenges, I know there are some individuals, because they're so artistic, they actually implement some of that into their own art or as a means of release or acceptance. Have you chosen to do any of that?
I have. I do it through art and story writing. I love creative writing on the side, and that really helps me express things that I can't do in other ways. Words is a form of art for me, and painting, yeah, like watercolor painting and drawing and things, they really just help me be more expressive. I did art growing up when I was young as a way to understand the world around me, and I still do that. I do art I just want to understand things, I guess you could say, and I see beauty in a lot of things. I also see challenge in a lot of things, and I feel like that's just life in general, and that's why I do art. It brings me a kind of joy that I can't get anywhere else. So.
And
Mhm.
if I were to say to you, if there's a person who will be watching this interview at some point who they themselves is struggling
Mhm.
physically and having challenges themselves, what advice would you give to them moving forward?
I would just say do that thing that sets your soul on fire, that makes you feel alive, even if you don't totally feel alive. I've always found this common thread that when I'm not feeling well, I will just sit down at my easel or my desk and I will just create something, and I don't think about, you know, other problems and health things that I'm going through. I'm just creating and I'm in the moment. And it's important that even if you're not feeling well and it's hard to create, or, you can't do a lot of things, just chill on your couch, pull out a notebook or something, and just doodle, or just do something to get you out of your head and
Sure.
into your hands, and into the moment. And you will notice a difference. I mean, it's incredible how, like, that's how art has impacted me, and I feel that it could do that for other people as well. And that's why I teach too, because I say, art is health. Art is it's wellness,
Yes,
and it really gives a
absolutely.
sense of that. Yeah.
You bet. Thank you very much for that. So, in all of this research I did not know this, and you did not reveal to me that at one point in your life, it looks like are you still a clothing designer?
I do still do a lot of sewing for family and friends.
Okay.
For 15 years on the side, I ran an alterations business and I did
Yeah.
fashion shows. Yeah, I did fashion shows overseas and worked with a lot of incredible creators and people. And I still, design stuff. I don't really do it like professionally anymore, but now I'm more focused on the art and the creative,
Yeah.
process of painting and drawing. Like I said, with my health situation changing as I've been aging, I've had to kind of hunker down and say, this is how I want to do my life now. I
Sure.
want to be a painter and a drawing artist. That's what I've done since I was a child. And so I really had to kind of hone, just a couple of things that I really just love to do and that just bring me life. So
Makes sense. I get you. Okay, so I have a fashion question. I have to ask this because we all just watched award season, of course, and every time this comes around, I turn on the television and I'm like, I'd like to
Mhm.
consider myself a little fashionable. And then I see some of these outfits, and so I have to ask you, as a woman who used to do clothes,
Mhm.
why do women want to wear no clothing? I swear it's less and less, and it just
Mhm.
I just wonder. I'm like, they have stylists, they have people that help them, and I'm like, they're either naked or they have the strangest things I've ever seen. So
Yeah.
please explain this to me. Why do people do this?
It's a phenomenon, honestly, that I can't even explain. I feel celebrity culture is kind of very narrowed in, terms of, well, they think, well, sex sells, it's appealing. Yeah. But I feel like in the world of fashion, and if you're in the public a lot,
Yeah.
I feel that you should be clothed and wearing something interesting and beautiful, but everybody has their own style and their taste that I feel shouldn't be judged. But at the same time, it's like, you know, what exactly are you going for? I often ask that question to myself in my head when I see certain people wearing certain things. I'm just like, why? I really can't answer it. I tried to as well, but I feel like with all the beautiful fashions and clothes out there to choose from, it's like, look a little harder. Like, there's so much. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not sure if I answered the question, but
No,
I,
no,
I,
no.
I'm often baffled by it too, a little bit, but.
Well, and the other thing being, of course, I'm 56 years old, and what I'm noticing is yes, as I change, because I'm on camera all the time, you're always worried about how do you look, not just the face, but the outfits. So I'm curious to ask you, as a woman who's starting to mature a little bit more, any good suggestion on how to deal with, well, age is age, and I'm not getting plastic surgery, which means we look a little different now. So the question is, from a fashion standpoint, how does one look better or maybe feel better about how we look at this age, I guess. Are there clothes for that or is that just a me thing?
I think you just have to embrace the process of aging. Just understand it happens to all of us. I think it's
Yeah.
a beautiful process. I think it's, you know, um, I forgot who said this. I feel like this is a quote and I can't think of this, but the older you get, the wiser you get. And I'm also in a place now where I am managing my health a lot more mindfully than when I
Sure.
did in my 20s and 30s. And I'm feeling healthier in the sense of how I'm managing my lifestyle now, kind of slowing down a little bit, being more in the present moment. But I really don't think it matters, what you wear, how you look. because we're all going to age. I mean, it's all just an illusion, really. And that's how I've always viewed it. Like,
Sure.
I never really agonized about, aging or even fashion or clothes for that matter. I've just been kind of like, I just do as I feel, if that makes sense,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
I
And
totally get it.
I try not to obsess over too much like how I'm looking and like just this last couple months, I dealt with a lot of illness, a lot of aging related issues, and I just was like, you know what? This is hard. This is difficult. I got quite upset about a lot of health things going on. But when I sit down at my easel, it's like I don't think about any of that. My mind is quiet, my whole body is quiet, and that's really the beautiful, excuse me, that's the beautiful thing about
Sure.
being an artist. You can just kind of
Oh
tune
yeah.
all the stuff out.
Oh,
So,
yes,
yeah.
I agree. Now, I don't want to forget to ask about this. At one point, you had put something together called Fashion Fit Function. Is that something that's now defunct, not doing it anymore? Can we resurrect it?
Well, I pretty much, yeah, no, that's very old from quite a few years ago. I'm not sure
Yeah.
how far back I did that, but right now it's more like art, wellness, and function is what I'm working on right now, those
Okay.
are the few things that I'm trying to do some rebranding. I'm getting my website reworked right now, and I'm also
Nice.
doing all of these different social media things that, so I'm putting together all those things brand wise right now.
Oh,
But yeah,
okay.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff from the past 10 years that I sort of had to dissolve and say, not that right now. Now it's just all about the art and the writing. So,
Understood. I gotcha. So for those that may want to check it out, so that was the Fashion Fit and Function. I also know you had Snap Style. What was
oh
it?
yeah.
Yeah, the Snap Style series as well. Are those still online where people can check all the old past everything that you did with that?
Yeah, no, I've pretty much deleted all those things. I got so overwhelmed with so many different social platforms that I had to kind of narrow down. So now,
Got it.
it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I have a YouTube channel called Tessa Koller Art where I teach
Hmm.
various mediums, how to use various mediums and various I'm always working with, different things, painting people, painting animals,
Yeah,
drawing people, drawing animals, doing all that sort of stuff. And I'm really focused on teaching now too.
gotcha. Makes sense. Okay,
Art.
thank you for clarifying that. Now I want to flip over a second and talk about this. You have been on Fox News, Fox 6 News, actually, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. So I want to talk a bit about this. I think oftentimes, and you are a small business owner, just like myself and others, what I don't think people really understand is the importance of doing what we are right now, which is doing media, getting the word out there, talking to people about it. So, to your fellow business owners, because I've been preaching to the choir for years, please talk a bit about why media is so significant in terms of getting your name out there. And then, second of all, why is it important for people to pick and vet media? Because I notice that people will do any podcast, they'll go out and run around and speak to just about anyone. And I think it's important for people to understand what they're doing when they get to the media.
Yeah, well, I think media in terms of, promotion or I call it creative marketing.
Yeah.
And I say it that way because I feel like if you're even a small business owner, if you're a brand, you want to market your artwork as uniquely as you possibly can. That's unique to you, that makes you interesting, that makes your brand interesting, that makes people go to your brand and like I just draw, all right, I don't want to say I just draw. I draw and paint pets for a living. I paint
Yep.
people's dogs, people's cats, and I accept, commissions and all that.
Okay.
But I feel like word of mouth is more important than any form of media. Yes, media helps, but media just kind of helps add visuals to the word of mouth. And that is really powerful. Visuals are extremely powerful. They should be compelling, simple, to the point, your brand, what you do, who you are, and what you can offer. And that should always be the main focus in every single post that you put out there. You know, pretty much regardless of what platform you're using or
Yeah.
social platform you're using. Media is extremely important, and visuals can either make or break your brand or business. So.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. Now,
Mm.
you and I both, again, freelance journalists, both of us. I do a bit of health, but not so much. Obviously, I know you're in a different topic area than I am, let's say, or subject area rather. So, my
Mhm.
question to you is this: in 2026, journalism looks very different, and the amount of mediums that's left over is shrinking, etc. So, for you on the journalistic side of things, how do you feel that we can convince the public, and it's a fair question, to trust us? I think there's a real issue with the community in general having a problem with media as a whole, being able to trust us. And second of all, for you personally, how do you decide what good, strong content is to release to the public?
Well, I think that if you're reading articles online and people are offering advice, it should be, tried and true advice. By that,
Yeah.
I mean, the author should have not only the credentials to back up, what they're posting about,
Yeah.
they should also say, I tried this, I did this, these were the results. Um, in terms of the health, I write a lot about health and wellness stuff and hacks and things that I've tried that have worked
Hmm.
or have not worked. And, this is the thing on social media too. It's important that whoever you're following to do research on that person, see what their credentials are, and just to be able to differentiate. I'm not sure why I can't speak right now,
It's
but
okay.
it's important to kind of see like uh, who's for real and who's not for real, I guess
Yeah.
is trying to say. And it's very easy to see that just by reading people's bios and being like, so who is this author that posted this article about, brushing or dry brushing or something like have they
Sure.
tried it? Has it really been successful or, if that makes sense. So it just helps to know like who it is that you are learning about,
Yeah.
or
Makes
just
perfect sense.
yeah,
Oh, you
do a little,
betcha.
yeah,
So
yeah.
let's see here. We have former clothing designer, we have author, we have journalist, and of course the artist side of you. So at present, at this stage of the game, how many art forms are we practicing right now on a regular basis?
So right now it's pretty much the freelance writing and watercolor painting and drawing. Those have been my primary focuses now, I think, for the last 3 or 4 years. I
Okay.
think since the pandemic. And the pandemic, I couldn't go anywhere for 2 years. I could not leave my house. And so that was when things really shifted for me. I had to kind of be like, all right, I've been an artist since I was a child. This is really what I want to do. And I had to dissolve some other creative things just because I felt that I wasn't truly being myself in those different creative, you know, professions or whatever you want to call them.
Okay.
And and so the pandemic forced me to really hone my artistic abilities, and that's when I got into teaching online and just pretty much doing everything online. And it's such a strong asset, just the internet and how you use it. It's really important, and it really makes a big difference for your brand and for your name to just have kind of, a few areas that you're really strong in be your focus. I didn't want to feel too scattered. And I felt like for a long time I did feel very scattered. And now it's like I just kind of want to get a little bit more centered. And that's what art helps me do.
Thank
So
you for that. Now, to the point of watercolor painting. So I have done painting myself at home, but let's face it, it's a paint by number. Do you know why? Because I have zero ability when it comes to painting. Now, yes, people will say to me, just do the paint, the wine and the paint thing, and you're going to learn how to paint, which to me blows my mind. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to learn how to paint while I'm drinking, for one, because I'm like not really paying attention. That's that. And second of all, I'm just not that gifted. I'm a writer. That's a different kind of art. So, to those that might watch this, I'm going to ask to get into watercolor painting, how complicated is that without any background in it, for one?
it is a complex medium, I will say that. It is technical. And if you've been away from it for a while, you will have to relearn it, which is exactly what I had to do in this last 6 months or so. I had to kind of revisit things that I learned in school, rewatch some videos and kind of reteach myself how to do it. But if you practice it every single day and you make it a priority, even if you spend only like a half hour, just,
Sure.
doing simple exercises, you can really learn how to master anything if you give it the time that it deserves. But it's really up to you how much time you want to spend on something. And
Yeah.
watercolor is a lot of fun. Like I really had to break out of the try to control it, be controlling, be perfect. And this is why I went into this medium again in the last year is because it's just it helps me be more expressive and not so like confined and tight in my marks and things like that. I want to do more expressive work in art and
Sure.
branch more into that. And that's what this medium helps with. But it's not as challenging as I think it is, interpreted, if that makes sense. A
I
lot of
think I
people,
get what you mean.
yeah, like a lot of people think it's very technical, it's too hard. It's like, no, you just got to practice it and really simplify. Because with watercolor, it's all about less is more. And I always say that before I sit down and do any piece, less is more. And you'll see the more you do it, like, oh, this is pretty simple. I can get the hang of this. So
Got it.
I'm actually teaching various exercises on my YouTube channel right now to get people into this is simple, this is not complicated. I can do this, you
Okay.
know? That's
Sure.
how I
Got it.
teach it. Yeah.
Okay. Now, when we look at, let's say, for instance, if somebody sits down to start working or doing simplistic things to start with, let's talk about everybody looks at the cost of things, right? So, is this a cost-effective medium for most people, would you say?
It can be. It really depends on where you purchase your materials. Like I shop at all kinds of art stores. Like my happy place is, Dick Blick Art Store. I mean, I'm there like 2 or 3 times a month. I could spend a whole day there. But really, yeah, I mean, it can be expensive, but you can also source materials that are affordable. You can get, discounts for certain things. You
Sure.
can sign up for, I guess it really depends on where you shop. You can get things on Amazon. It just depends on where you source your materials and how often you can just get three, watercolor paints, like primary colors, like yellow, red, blue, and you can produce beautiful work with just those three colors, you know, and water from your sink and affordable brushes that, you can get anywhere, really, and you can make it affordable. It really depends on what you're willing to spend on it, on any medium. This
You
goes for
bet.
any medium.
And
Yeah.
when we talk about doing this, are these projects, let's say, for instance, if someone takes this on, are you capable of doing something like this with the family? Or would you suggest this more as an adult sort of occupation and or hobby?
I think kids should be introduced to watercolor in various mediums. I have a lot of nieces. I have a ton of young nieces, and I introduce them to these mediums, and I just let them kind of play around. A kid isn't like, you know, this has to be perfect, this has
Sure.
to be. A kid is really just playing with it, and as an
Right.
adult, they kind of influence me to be like, art is playing. It shouldn't be stressful. It shouldn't be complicated.
Right.
And if it feels too stressful and too complicated, then you're doing something wrong. Then you're,
Hmm.
in the right mindset or you're making it complicated. And I've been very guilty of this. Like when I first started doing this medium, I was like, I am overworking things. I'm making things too complex. And I really had to scale back and put myself through various exercises, which anybody can do if they really want to get good at this medium, especially just watch a lot of videos, watch other artists, and just do different simple exercises that make it fun and stress free, I guess you could say.
I get it. I do actually. I want to ask you about this, and I'm probably not going to pronounce it right. So I saw that you were particular about using, it's called Caran d'Ache luminance colored pencils, if I got that right. So you were raving about this. So I thought, well, this is probably something we should know about. So where do you
Yeah.
find them, and why do you favor these?
So the brand is actually Karen Dash Luminance colored pencils.
Okay.
And yeah, they are wax-based colored pencils, and I still use them. I use them for commissions. I get them at Dick Blick Art Store. I get them on their online website. I shop there. Like I restock once or a month or once every couple of months. But yeah,
Okay.
people come to me like, to draw their dogs, to draw their cats or exotic pets or farm animals. Like I've been drawing anything and everything since I was a child. And to have this as a small business, it helps to have high quality materials. It doesn't matter how big or small your business is. Karen Dash Luminance colored pencils is the highest quality colored pencil that you can use. It makes every single thing that you produce just utterly beautiful. And I've produced a lot of things that people were like, is that colored pencil or a painting? I'm like, it's colored pencil, you know? And it just kind of blows their mind. Like that's how high quality it is. So it is important if you're going to have any kind of little art business to have good quality, products and trustworthy, places to, purchase them at. So.
Makes perfect sense. Now,
Hmm.
at present, I was going to say, you've been talking a lot about drawing and painting animals and things of that nature. Are you exclusive at this point to that, or are you doing people? Are you doing places? Tell me a bit about what people can get from you specifically, if offering, or excuse me, if ordering a commission.
Yes, I draw people and animals for commissions. Those are I'm pretty much exclusive to those few things in terms of, what people often commission me for and what I offer. I
Okay.
don't really paint places or landscapes as much. I'm very interested in people and animals, and that's
Okay.
really where my main focus is.
You betcha. Now, if somebody happens to watch this today and they're curious about purchasing pieces, do you have them in particular galleries or locations where folks can get them?
Well, right now I'm pretty much all commission based, so I'm not
Okay.
really selling like individual pieces at this time. Like I
Sure.
said, I'm pretty much doing teaching and taking these commissions. When people commission things, I promote those and I they have to go to their owners, to their rightful owners after the commission piece. So I don't really have a lot of pieces that I'm selling at the moment. Just trying to focus on building an audience for people that want to see drawings or paintings of their pets or their kids or whatever the case, their pets
Very
and kids,
nice.
you know. Yeah.
Pets and kids. There you go. If someone happens to watch this today and thinks, I really want to know this person, I want to meet her, where
Mhm.
can they go to find you?
A few places. I have a Facebook page. It's Tessa Koller Art. My YouTube is Tessa Koller Art, and
Okay.
my Instagram is also Tessa Koller Art. And that's basically my whole brand. It's
Okay.
just wellness, and that's where people can find me. I am also figuring out the website thing right now. That's taking some time, but I blog regularly, a few times a month over at medium.com, and that's just my first and last name where people can find me as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And subscribe
Okay.
to my YouTube channel too. I post there every couple of days.
And in
So,
terms of actual live events or appearances, are you going to be, where will you be at in the near future?
well, I'm always doing exhibitions here in my hometown. Like I said, I don't travel too much anymore. I mostly travel within the country. In September, I'll be going to that conference, like I mentioned.
Okay.
And I keep that. I don't really travel too much anymore right now. But yeah, if you guys want to find me, like right now, I've got an exhibition. If there's any people in Illinois that know of the Norris Cultural Arts Center, that's where my work is right now with a bunch of other really talented artists.
Okay.
And yeah, so I'm always doing exhibitions in places wherever they'll accept me. So,
It's very
you
cool.
know.
Did you hear that? So if somebody listens today and you have a big center somewhere you want, Tessa's your girl here.
Mhm.
It seems only fitting for the last question to ask something that typically most artists love talking about, which is art itself. So if I were to ask the artist, if you could give me two sentences only, to you, what does art mean? What does art mean to you?
Um, For me, art brings meaning and joy and wellness into my life, and it just makes life worth it. It makes life worth getting up for every day, and it's me. It's who I am. It's who I've always desired to be since I was very young.
That's fitting. Wonderful. This is what I'd like to say to you, dear Tessa. Three things. First of all, thank you so much for being so courageous that despite the fact that you are battling with your own issues, are still going out and creating and inspiring in the world. So thank you very much for that. Number two, thank you for allowing me to showcase your pieces because that is a true privilege for me. And third of all, thank you for educating all of us and not only what art means to you, but also how, I don't want to say easy or simplistic, but accessible art can be to all of us. I appreciate that because oftentimes people don't realize it's not just for professionally versed artists, it's for families and other people. It's for all of us, really, to appreciate and to admire, and keeping art alive is super important for me. So thank you so much for all of this. I appreciate it.
Of course. And thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful, and it was great
Oh,
chatting with you.
thank you so much.